It's already hour number 4. We're here live Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. Back Sunday with an abbreviated transmission, 4 to 6 p.m. The websites are Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. We have the one, the only Dr. Ron Paul, Congressman Ron Paul. We're going to talk about socialized health care. People have actually read the subsections. We have them here. Total takeover. He'll be breaking that down. He's got bills to beat it and to really fix health care. Auditing the Fed, we're going to get into that, and so much more. And he's a medical doctor. We're going to talk about this flu hype, trying to stampede people into federalization, UN control of the level 6 pandemic, and a lot more with Congressman Ron Paul. Congressman, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
Let's get into the National Socialist health care. Obama tried to stonewall people and said this is no big deal, but people have now read the bill. You're a medical doctor and a congressman. Can you tell us what's really in that bill?
Well, it is nationalized health care. This pretense that it isn't, completely just means that there's some transition involved. So, no, their goal is to have one-party payer, which means that they control everything. And there's a lot of other bad things in, too, like this effort to consult with anybody who's over a certain age and talk to them about end-of-life type of procedures. This bill is just such an outrage. The American people see it for what it is. It's going to cost a lot of money. Their care is not going to be improved, and that special interest will be served.
Congressman, when I was talking to you, when we first got you on during that 1-minute break, you brought up the rebellion against really both parties, but mainly the Democrats, Doggett being shouted down, Republican congressman, Delaware congressman, Specter getting chanted down, people saying we don't want your socialist big government health care. That has got to be exciting when their own constituents are shouting them down.
Yeah, I think, and this is different. I don't remember seeing the people so angry as they are now. But I think what they've discovered is that government is a failure. It isn't so much that they're all saints now and they don't want the government taking care of them. I think a lot of people have come to the realization that you can't trust government. The government's been promising me all this, and they were going to give me all these free things and wouldn't cost anything, and I'd have a good job and we'd live happily ever after. They're starting to realize now that it's not so, and they're going to end up with a lot of debt, and the government can't be trusted. That's a healthy start. So it is our job now to fill in the void and tell them what the role of government ought to be so that we can take all this energy and anger and redirect it.
Exactly, because you have always said that the danger point is that when we come to this crisis, the collapse of big government, they're going to try to make it even bigger and a total tyranny. We've got to be there beforehand and during, saying, no, let's get back to the system that's proven to be the most bountiful, the most free, the beautiful system, the great design our founders gave us.
Yeah, and up until now, they've been able to use fear as their best tactic, and whether it's on foreign policy issues or domestic policy issues, that's how that first TARP fund went through. The whole thing would be collapsing. We have to do this rapidly. Don't ask any questions. Appropriate $700 billion, and we'll take care of everything. So if things get worse, they'll say, boy, this is more reason than ever for the government to take over. And, of course, we still have the threat of martial law coming in, because I think they haven't forgotten about that, and I don't think they'd hesitate to use it.
Congressman, when we come back, I want to talk about the establishment's response, though, to the majority of House members now wanting to audit the Fed and the people getting angry. Lloyd Doggett and others went on the news and said it was all staged, all fake. It didn't matter that I found out my neighbor was there and buying groceries at Randall's in South Austin, where I live, and went over and started chanting. It didn't matter if one of my dad's employees at his dental office was there at the meeting, a Democrat who was sent the letter, and that she was mad at him. It didn't matter that it was real. He just says it's fake. But everywhere, people are saying, no, this just sounds like Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake.
Yeah.
In fact,
they'll wake up soon. I think that this is not going to go away very quickly.
Absolutely, but we're going out to break. We're going to come back and talk more about this. There they are, chanting at Lloyd Doggett. Hundreds and hundreds of people literally chasing him from the building, and he says it's staged. Well, it's not staged. This is Alex Jones. Have you heard of the Millionaire Patriot? Well, you should. He has a free handgun and 5 days of firearms training waiting for you. That's right. You can attend 5 days of world-class gun training at Front Sight Firearms Training Institute and secure a 30-state concealed weapons permit, all for pennies on the dollar. Plus, if you act fast, the Millionaire Patriot will give you a free Springfield Armory XD pistol in the caliber of your choice. I believe now is the time that you and your family need to be armed and trained to levels that exceed law enforcement and military standards. Front Sight provides such training without any boot camp mentality or drill instructor attitudes. This is real. Don't miss out. Secure a Front Sight defensive handgun course, plus a 30-state concealed weapons permit for pennies on the dollar, and get your free handgun. Go to frontsight.com today. That's FRONTSIGHT.com. Go to frontsight.com for your training and free gun. Well, it's great to have Ron Paul with us for a full half hour today in his very busy schedule. I have a lot of emails here, questions that listeners want me to ask, so let's go ahead and get into the questions. We ended that segment with video and audio of Congressman Lloyd Doggett, a big collectivist, being booed off the stage at a Randall's grocery store here in Austin. Now, I talked to people that were there. They said, we don't want this. And he said, I don't care what you want. I'm going to do it. I saw him during the cap and trade say, I don't care if I'm getting 5-to-1 calls against this. I'm going to do it. That seems to be his call sign. And then the media is acting like it's un-American and bad that citizens would dare chant at him. Is it un-American to go talk to your politicians?
Well, when we can't do that, it's all over. You know, the First Amendment tells you something about petitioning Congress and having some redress. So I would say that if they ever get to the point where they want to enforce that, where you can't call down your elected officials, the ballgame's over. But right now, I think there's still enough room. You're still on the radio. I still speak out. I still am in Congress. So we have a vehicle. The answer is going to be, can we awaken and alert enough people to become activists and rally the cry for freedom?
So the control freak statists are in a race against time. We're in a race against them. Where would you put our situation as humanity, as an American people? We see a huge awakening taking place. Is the momentum beginning to shift in our direction?
I don't think there's any doubt about it. I keep thinking about what our history was like in the 20s and the 30s. In the 20s and the 30s, early 30s, everything had already shifted intellectually. But even when Roosevelt ran in 1932, he ran on a conservative platform, the gold standard and balanced the budget, and criticized Hoover for doing all the dumb things. But the intellectual community had already come to the welfare state and socialism, and that, is, of course, is what Roosevelt responded to. I think it may well be reversed right now, because now when I go out and talk to colleges and campuses and kids and all, they know what Austrian economics are, and they know about the Federal Reserve. I mean, just think of the momentum we have on the Federal Reserve, auditing the Fed. So I would say underneath the momentum is on our side. But in Washington and the intellectual communities are still very statist. This to me is very encouraging, but we have to translate that eventually into political action. But the contest is on, and we have a long way to go yet.
Congressman, what are the tricks up the sleeve of the establishment? The people don't want socialized health care. They don't want open borders. They don't want new wars. They don't want a private Federal Reserve that's above the law. But the establishment, it seems, instead of trying to give an olive branch, seems to be entrenching themselves further. I mean, you're a well-read person. I'm sure you know Alabama's announcing they're going to use regular Army as their new police force. Schenectady, New York's asking for federal troops. The Marines in California are running DWI checkpoints. CNN and Fox are reporting the Army's going to lock down cities and try to carry out forced inoculations. Now, they're trying to announce this. I'm not saying they're going to get away with it, but they're certainly saying it. Martial law was threatened against Congress last year if they didn't give in to the bankers. Clearly, Northcom, it appears, is a receivership arm now for the offshore corporations that are trying to sanguinate or absorb the United States. Your comments on the swine flu, the hype, the fear, it's killed less than 200 people in the U.S., and the regular flu kills 37,000, the CDC says, but they're saying the end of liberty, the end of freedom. forced inoculations because of a couple hundred dead? Is this an excuse for federal expansion of power?
Yeah, it's pure propaganda, to get us involved overseas. It's war propaganda on somebody's going to attack us with a nuclear weapon if we don't go in and invade other countries. The same way or domestically scare people. Most people don't know what you just said, that tens of thousands of people die from flu every year, and now we have a couple hundred, and they want us to just sacrifice our choices and just say, oh, okay, if you tell us we need a shot, we'll do it. But, there will come a time when there will be enough of us that will just raise Cain. But the other thing that's happening is